So, Rush. Rush is a 2013 film. It's an F1 film about James Hunt, played by Chris Hemsworth, and Niki Lauda, played by Daniel Bruhl. And Chris Hemsworth is Thor in the Thor films, but Daniel Bruhl is also in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He plays Helmut Zemo in Captain America: Civil War. So this is a film I saw twice in the theaters. Once with my father, and once it was everybody's dream to be in the theater all by yourself, so you can text and you can talk and you can laugh at inappropriate moments. Except for I didn't do any of that because this film is amazing, and even on a second viewer, I was fully engaged. So this is one of the few films that I walked out thinking, there is a high chance this is one of my favorite films of all time. I did that with Avatar, I did that with Avengers. This film is easily better than both of those. There is a film that at the time I thought might be my favorite film, which is Toy Story, and I'll get to that later in the show because we talked about Tom Hanks' Apollo 13, and I'm going to talk about his other film from 1995. And Rush is one of those films that I absolutely love. It's one of the times I went in not knowing anything. Ron Howard, Chris Hemsworth, race car film! And this story between these two guys, James Hunt and Niki Lauda, it's one of these sports rivalries. It is the Rocky and Apollo Creed. It is the Packers Bears. It is Yankees Red Sox. It's one of these great rivalries, but I had no familiar with these. I walk in knowing this is a Ron Howard film about racing, and Thor's in it, and I'm like, go Thor, go Chris Hemsworth, go James Hunt. And then I watch the film, and I'm like, wow, this Niki Lauda is pretty good. He signs with Ferrari because his parents have money, and then he is tweaking his cars with the Ferrari cars with like Eurasia parts, so they're lighter, and they make the car go faster. And he is a great driver, but he has these smarts and he has these mechanic skills. And Ferrari hires him, and then the other drivers get jealous of him. And it follows their career from 1970 through 1963, and you just see how much respect these characters have for each other. You have the scene where the opening scene starts, and they're in the pouring rain, but it's lighting up, and they're like, should we change our tires? And then Niki Lauda's like, did James Hunt change his tires? And James Hunt's like, did Niki Lauda change their tires? And then it flashes back to before, and that's it doesn't really conclude with that, but that is the climax of the film when they go back to that race at the Nürburgring. And it's one of the greatest feelings in the world when you walk into a movie fresh, knowing absolutely nothing about it, and it enhances your experience, and I love this movie. This movie rests on Daniel Bruhl's performance. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Golden Globes that year. He lost to Jared Leto in Dallas Buyers Club. That is another movie which I haven't seen, so I can't rate Jared Leto's performance in that, but Daniel Bruhl did a performance for the ages as Niki Lauda in Rush. I think his performance should go down as one of the greatest performances of all time, and I can't say if it was worth the awards because the people that won the awards that year, I have not seen that movie. But if there was a Justin Feyereisen award for acting, Daniel Bruhl would get it. And he is a supporting actor in the film, but he is also a co-lead. And the differences between James Hunt and Niki Lauda are the heart and soul of this movie. And I am not a car guy. I know nothing about cars. I have a car. But seeing this movie, seeing these two guys, and I'm like, wow, this is a movie just for car guys. This is a movie for everyone because this is a character story. These characters, besides being based on real people, are fascinating. And the contrast between it is amazing. And Daniel Bruhl, who I think gave one of the best performances ever, didn't want to take on this role because Niki Lauda is an actual guy, he is well known, and he is alive. And as an actor, that's scary because he can come out and say, your performance is not good, and the movie can tank because of it. So he went and he met Niki Lauda, and Niki Lauda is very stern. He's like, okay, you can stay with me for a week, and we can talk to each other about the film and stuff, and you can learn to know me better. But when you get there, don't unpack your bags because I might not like you. So this is the first time you're meeting this guy, and he's like, don't unpack your bags because we might not like each other. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But then I see the movie and I see the performance, and Niki Lauda thought the movie was great. And there's one turning point in the movie, which, if you are not familiar with Niki Lauda, I don't want to talk to that because this is not one of the most the biggest, most well-known movies. This is one of my favorite, but Rush, not a lot of people know about it, and it did okay at the box office. It didn't flop, but it didn't make a lot of money either. And there is a turning point in this movie where I'm like, oh crap, that happened. How is he going to overcome this? And this is the point of the movie where I stopped rooting for James Hunt when I was rooting for him the whole time because I liked the actor playing him. And Daniel Bruhl, I had not seen any movies since. I see the performance and I'm like, I need to watch more Daniel Bruhl movies. And I lied to myself because the only one I've seen was when he showed up in the MCU. But this performance alone makes him worth an actor to be on everybody's radar. And it is a great story when you can go into the story and say, oh crap, what just happened? I am changing my allegiance from character A to character X. And Ron Howard is an incredible filmmaker. And he's made Splash, he's made Apollo 13, he's made numerous other movies. But this is the movie that speaks to me most. And I think it was because I walked in knowing nothing about the movie and came out absolutely loving it. And Ron Howard being attached to Solo, a Star Wars movie, makes me like, I don't really need a Han Solo movie. I was intrigued when it was Lord and Miller, the Lego movie guys, but they got fired and they bring in Ron Howard, and I'm like, Ron Howard's incredible. And you see he's posting pictures on Instagram and Facebook from the production before it wrapped. So I love Star Wars, and I was going to go see Han Solo regardless. But after watching Apollo 13 and after watching Rush, I am more excited for Ron Howard directing it than I would have been for Chris Lord and Phil Miller. And I love those guys. Lego Movie is another one of my favorite films. But Ron Howard can just bring something to Star Wars that I don't think those guys can bring. And if you have not seen Rush, that's another film I highly recommend. I would give it a 10 out of 10. And I know it seems like I'm giving every film 10 out of 10, but I just selected a few, which I absolutely love and adore. And it is rated R. There is some violence. There is some intense scenes. But everybody should check out Rush if they are into racing films or Ron Howard films.